This is a very different show tonight. No entertainment. That's a tough call for me, man. It's like I'm always talking about acting and music or films. We have a very special evening tonight, but before I introduce my guests, I just want to send my love to my two friends who are incredible, very talented actors, Gay Facio, Luca Perucci. Both of them are members at the Actors Studio. They are releasing a movie today with Bradley Cooper, The Place Behind the Pines. Today is the opening day. So I'm sending my love and my support to both of them. They're absolutely amazing actors. So I'm sending my love to them, both of them. And I watched a movie with Al Pacino and Helen Mirren on HBO, The Spectre, about this guy who killed that girl. Amazing, amazing. I highly recommend it. I think Pacino's a genius, and I think Helen Mirren, she's absolutely the greatest. Okay, tonight, Omayra Cruz, Omayra Harris, mother and daughter. How I met Omayra Harris, that was 5 years ago when I went for my, oh God, my teeth. Tried to get everything done, and oh God, people are so scared to death.
They are.
I can't, right? It's like, it happens everywhere. Do we just get a little bit, we panic too much?
Yeah.
Butterflies.
We do, right? But we connected. 5 years ago, we had a nice, beautiful friendship. And through Facebook, I wanted, because some people say, I don't have time for Facebook, I'm too busy for Facebook. Oh, come on. I think Facebook is a great thing.
I think Facebook is wonderful.
It's a wonderful thing, and we're going to hear why it's so wonderful. But we're going to get into your story. You are the guest. Omayra is the guest, you're the guest, but
she's a star.
She's a star. So I'm out of the equation right now. I'm going to sit down and just get into your story. Coming from such a tough background, tough beginning, not knowing basically who your mother was.
Right.
Right? Growing up and facing obstacles and adversities and dealing with so many problems since day one.
Yes.
So we're going to go back to that journey, and you're going to take it from the beginning.
Okay.
Can we talk about it?
Sure, sure.
Okay.
I was adopted at about 3 years old. Come to find out, it was 5. My father shipped me to New York, took me from my mother, and just forgot about me. So then this lady raised me, and when I was about 11, she put me in a home. I guess she no longer wanted me.
When she told you, like, when you were like
when
9,
I was 9, she
that you
told
were
me.
adopted.
That you were adopted.
She gave me the paper. She says, Omayra,
And your birth certificate.
Yes, she says, you're not my natural daughter. I adopted you from your father, which I only met like once. So I was like, okay, so my whole world turned upside down, because here I am thinking this lady was my mother. No wonder we didn't look alike. No wonder, like, she was so much older than all the other mothers, you know.
Right.
So, you know, I'm grateful. To this day now, I'm grateful. She adopted me, and she made me the person I am. But come to find out, when, you know, I was 9 years old, she told me this. So I was like, okay, well, who am I then? You know, where did I come from? So she said that this lady in Puerto Rico gave birth to me, and my father took me and shipped me to her. So, you know, I've always asked, you know, what about my mother or whatever, but to make the long story short, she put me in a home.
But that's the thing. We don't want to make the long story short. We want to hear it.
Okay.
Well, they said her mom was a whore, and
right?
Yes.
They said that her mom didn't want her, so she left her with a man, but that turned out to be a lie.
That turned to be a lie.
Yes.
Yeah, and then she like told her she was like going to go to camp or something, but it turned out to be a group home, and then that's where she left my mom. Yeah,
she left me there, and then I met my children's father at 14 years old, you know, on the top of World Trade Center before it was knocked down. And, you know, we had the same backgrounds almost, except that he had his family and his mother, you know, and then I had no one. So, you know, that drew me to him. He was a bad boy, I was the good girl, you know.
Right.
I had a kid at 15, you know, which he's 28 now. And then my life just, you know, continued. I used to get beat and abused on a daily basis. And then I'm like, yo, it's got to be something better than this out here for me.
Do you, when you met this man, do you, because women, we kind of feel, we go by our instincts. You knew right from the beginning there were some problems there?
He was violent. I can tell he was violent when we was dating. He used to
slap
me around.
How
like
violent?
Slap me, you know,
slap
like,
you around.
I told you to do this. I told you he wanted to rule me basically, and being that I
Right.
had no one to turn to, you know, I was like, I guess, you know, this is the way a man is supposed to treat his woman. I don't know.
Right.
You know, because I had 2 ladies that
Do you
raised
went-
me. They
do
were
you-
lesbians.
Right,
So I
right.
never seen that in the home. I never seen, like, you know, a penis till I got like 13.
Right. I'm so glad they would. You see, that's what I want to
Yeah.
hear, because stuff like that people want to hear.
Yeah, like
So
I was
when-
raised in a structured home,
Right,
Catholic.
but so when the first time that he slapped you, do you remember
Yeah,
very
yeah,
clearly?
very clearly.
What do you do?
I
What
was
do-
like,
what-
oh my God, you slapped me. Why you slap me? He's like, because you got to listen to me, you know, you got to do what I say.
No, you didn't want it to go away.
I forgot what it was, like, and then he slapped me. I'm like, yo, why you slap me? I couldn't believe that he slapped me. And then it
Right.
was just like a normal thing for him. And he's a black
Right.
man, you know, raised with a lot of, you know, 13 children of them. You know, sometimes that's what he saw. And unfortunately, we follow what we see.
Right.
And it becomes
We-
part
we-
of our
yeah,
lives.
it's afflictions,
you know?
afflictions.
Right.
All of us, we
'Cause
have
you gotta
afflictions.
Want it, right, you got to want to stop doing things.
Right.
You know, you want to change the cycle.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, I can do bad by myself. And I got the courage. After 4 children, I left him.
Yeah.
Okay, but here I had a kid at 15. I dropped out of, you know, high school. I never made it to high school, actually. I had no education, no family. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? At 20, I left him.
Okay.
I raised my kids on my own. I went from shelter to shelter to system
Yes,
to
shelter
system.
to shelter.
You know, it
trying
wasn't
to-
easy, but my main priority was always my children. I said, you know
Right.
what? I can make it by myself. I can do this. I don't need a man to tell me what to do and how to act and how to dress. Like, he
Right.
would always make me feel bad about myself. I felt so ugly, and yet I was so young and pretty. So,
Right.
you know, now,
Well,
like,
whoever makes you feel that way, that
you
tells
should not be with them.
It shouldn't be. You shouldn't be with
You
him.
should always be proud of
Not
yourself.
only the abuse was really gruesome, you know, the marks, the stitches, or, you know, it wasn't just a slap. It would be
Yeah.
like some
Stomp my
issues
feet,
where,
you know, stomp my face out.
Yeah. What about the time? Yeah.
the
stab in
time
the
when
eye.
he stabbed her in the
Yeah,
eye
yeah,
in front
same.
of like
All
my
three,
brothers and myself. So yeah, we thought she was gonna die.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, like the abuse is really gruesome.
yeah.
Now, Omayra, how often do you think about the past? Because I know that it's something that is difficult. We talked in the beginning that, yeah, you learn from the past, and the past is dust, and you have to
Right.
move on, and you have to
Yeah.
live your life and be happy and bring hope. But how often do you find yourself thinking about the past, thinking about your father, the abuse, the pain, seeing your mama getting hurt? How often do you think about that?
It's something that happens every day, but I'm a strong believer that, you know, we can't change the past. And
Right.
however, to me, it's almost like the balance of life. We would never know what the good feels like if we didn't experience the
That's
past. So
correct.
I'm almost very grateful for the past, because now I know the things that I don't wish to experience. And by knowing what I don't wish to experience, I tend to focus all my attention on the things that I do want to experience. So it doesn't bother me to talk about the past. No one should ever feel ashamed
Right.
to talk about their past, because you don't know whose life you can affect by just sharing your story. Everyone has a story.
That's correct.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So, but I think the strong is the ones that actually speak on it
Yeah.
and let people know in general this behavior is not
It's
okay.
not acceptable.
No, it's not acceptable.
No.
It
It
shouldn't
shouldn't
be
be
acceptable.
acceptable.
And women and
Shouldn't.
men, because women can be abusive as well. We always talk about men being abusive, but in all fairness,
It's true.
women are
It's
abusive
both
too.
ways, yeah.
In
Very
both ways. So we have to see the whole picture.
Yes,
okay?
definitely.
Are you angry?
No, I'm not angry. I used to be
You
angry.
used to be?
I used to be. I always wondered why my life had to be, you know, adopted, abandoned twice.
Right.
Then, you know, being beaten, and then I had to leave him. So, you know, it's like, you know, but we all are stronger because of what we went through,
Right.
you know. And,
That's the only way to
you
see.
know, I always dreamed of finding my mother,
Yes.
you know, living alone, being alone. It's just pain, you know, like when Christmas comes, the lady that adopted me, she never gave me a present, never had Christmas party, birthday party, nothing. It was just go to school, do what you got to do, and that's it. No
She
love.
had to work in a store.
And I worked in a botanica. We had a botanica.
At a really
Uh-huh.
You know, I
young
grew
age.
up like that at a young age. I was like Cinderella. You know, in order to eat, you had to work.
You have to work.
You know, but that made me a strong person, because that made me, I like to work, you know.
Good for
I
you.
can't stay home, you know. And
Right.
like, I raised my kids that way. I said,
And
let me
all of
tell
them
you,
went to school.
Yes, all
and
of
you
them
did a
got
hell of a
their
job.
graduated
First
high
time I
school.
saw Omayra, I remember with my mouth wide open, I said, God, she's a good girl. And I told you that. I don't know if you remember, but I have
you
to.
did.
And I said, you are a good girl.
That's my passion.
Remember when I told you that I said, I don't know your mama,
Yeah.
but gosh, she did a hell of a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that has been my best achievement
And
my
that's
best
your
accomplishment.
best accomplishment.
Yes,
You're
my-
very
my
proud.
beautiful children, yes.
Right? So how do you move on? How do you live life
you
after,
put the
after
past,
all this?
You forgive him. I forgave him.
You forgave him? No
My
grudges?
kids fought, no grudges. I have no grudges. He actually has his bachelor's degree. That's something I have to achieve
Good.
now.
Oh, well,
I was
but you got time.
a little jealous, but it made me motivate me.
but
I can do it. If he can do it, I can do
So
it
means that
too.
anybody can change pretty much,
Exactly.
even if you're
want it.
Yeah.
if they
If you
want
want
to
it,
change,
right.
you can change,
Right.
and
So
you can
then-
change the world
Definitely. And
Right?
they have a relationship with their dad, and that's what, I always told them, don't judge him for the past.
Right.
Just make him, you know how he is, that's who he is, you gotta accept him and love him.
What have you learned?
I have learned, like, don't dwell in the past, forgive and forget.
And forget.
Sometimes it's hard to forget.
Forget is
because,
a little tough, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we should ever forget, because you don't want to forget certain behaviors, because people, they just have behaviors. So certain things are just expected from them. But because you know that behavior is expected from them, now you know what to expect from them. So you're not going to expect the world from them, because you know they're not capable of giving you the world.
Right.
And that's the relationship. Before, we used to be real angry with my dad, because no one wants to be in a room with a person that did something like this to their mom.
Right.
But, it's like, at the end of the day, he's my father. It's that
Of course.
unconditional love. And I can't explain it. Yeah, when I was 11, I wanted to meet my dad, even though I knew everything he had did. And I visited my dad in prison the first time at 11 years old, and I'm 27 now, and I still visit my dad in
You
prison.
used to visit your dad. How often do you see your dad?
I see him twice a year, because I feel like the visits are a privilege, and that's your time. You're doing it. I don't have to do your time with you. I do write him once a month, because again, letters, those things are privileges.
Right.
And I send him money once a month, and that's it.
Okay, but you feel that right now you can say, I have a good relationship with my
I'm
dad.
at peace
I
with
forgave
everything.
him.
I'm at peace.
You're
I forgive
in peace.
him. And it just the last visit we had, he actually acknowledged the bad things that he did, and that was really big, because all my life he's always denied it. But I remember, the screams the most, or like when he stabbed her and how her face was covered with blood, and I thought she was going to die. I remember those things. So for him to like deny it all these years, to then finally admit to it, it was an amazing thing for someone to admit to their wrong.
Does he say to you, I'm sorry?
Yeah, he did.
He said, you got a little few tears there, baby. But you know what? When we talk about this, you can't help it. Life is so hard, and I don't understand why we have to make it tougher.
Yeah.
I always, God, I feel that life is so short.
It is.
And you can't just sit and hate.
Right.
You have to sit and forgive. And I think the best way is to really think about God and think about Jesus and all the beautiful things that you can do to make a difference. And guess what? All of us, we suffer. All of us, we're in pain.
Definitely.
My God, I wish, I can erase the past and just, but you know what? That's how we learn. That's how we live.
Right.
This is life.
Right.
And having your dad coming to you and just telling you, I'm sorry.
That was amazing.
That was amazing to you, right? What about your brothers? What did they say? Did they go to see him?
At first, they were very closed about it. They actually shut him out. But eventually, they forget, because when you hold on to a grudge, you really are holding on to something. You're
prisoner.
You're pushing yourself down. You're a prisoner to this person. And when you forgive them, it's not anything that you're doing for them. It's something that you're doing for yourself.
It's liberating.
You don't have to carry that grudge anymore.
Right.
So it's actually a gift that you give yourself. And they forgave him. And when you forgive, you have so much room to experience other things, because now your attention is not focused on, I'm so angry at this person.
Right.
Your
And
attention
anger destroys you.
Anger destroys you.
Angriness kills you. So you have two choices, whether you live or you die.
Right.
You want to live?
Be happy.
Be happy.
Right.
Be grateful. I'm not preaching here because I'm not a priest. But life is too short. Like I said, it's about not being self-centered. Having you, mama, going through hell, because she literally went through hell. Now we're sitting down talking about it.
Yes,
It's kind of like